We have a couple of dear friends with us this morning from Sacramento, Tom and Susie McKee. Tom's going to be preaching this morning, and they'll be at the back door to greet you as you leave. I hope you'll greet them and welcome them warmly. But I want to give you a chance to get to know Tom. And Tom, come on up front before he preaches. Sharon and I owe you and Susie big time. Can you explain?
You owe us really big time, Joel. Joel and I, you and I were great friends in college. And Susie and Sharon actually went to high school together and then were together in college. And Susie and I had been dating for some time, and Sharon and Susie got together and they decided that they wanted Sharon to meet you. And so they arranged this blind date. And so I got together with you and arranged this, and I remember Sharon was flying down to college, and so we sent you out to the airport to pick her up, and it was one of those older planes that had the, the stairs that came down kind of Marilyn Monroe style, and when Sharon walked out of that plane and you saw her for the first time, you knew it was love at first sight, and so yes, you owe us big, big time.
I lit up when I saw her. This is a special weekend for both of us couples. Why?
Today is May 29th. When I saw that date up there at the beginning, it just kind of, my heart jumps because 52 years ago on May 29th, Susie and I stood before you and you married us. You led us in exchange of our vows, and Sharon was Susie's maid of honor. The next night, we came back from our honeymoon.
That was pure sacrifice and love.
And we stood up for you. And there I was your best man, and Susie was your, I guess nowadays, I don't know if they still do that, but matron of honor, because we were married then, right? And so there we stood up for you, and it was exciting, and it was great for us to do both weddings on the same weekend, because we could have all of our college friends be there for the weekend and be in both weddings.
Matron. Susie, it sounds so old-fashioned. You had a really interesting career. Sketch for us just a bit of the roles you've played since university days.
Well, right after we were married, we moved to the Monterey Peninsula where I was a youth pastor, and I'd been in youth ministry for some 13 years. Then I felt God call us to go to seminary. So I resigned that position. Susie was a teacher, a high school English teacher, and so she taught English in Denver, where I went to seminary for 3 years, and during that time I had a part-time job as a music director. Then when I graduated from seminary, I pastored for another 13 years. And then I felt God opened some opportunities for me because I had a really passion for discipling people and teaching people. So I actually started a business called Advantage Point Systems, where we really did leadership development, and I've been doing that for the last, 27 years.
What's your specialty right now in Advantage Systems?
My passion and specialty is the power of volunteers. And I always felt that in Ephesians, the role that the pastor had was to equip people to do the work of the ministry. So I've had the opportunity the last 27 years to really teach around the country. And I've spoken at conventions for Volunteer Ireland. I was in Amsterdam with a high-tech group, traveled in Africa where we trained a lot of pastors in leadership development. I've worked a lot here, in fact, even in Arizona with Make-A-Wish Foundation, with AARP. I've traveled and trained all their staff how to recruit and motivate and encourage volunteers, because in many ways you find Christians there and they're doing the work of the ministry through those organizations.
You have spent 25 years in the marketplace. That's a little different than the church. How have you sought to make the invisible Christ visible in that arena or environment?
When you told me you were going to ask me that question last night, and I laid awake most of the night thinking about it, thanks, Joe, and because I could talk for hours about that. So let me just tell you a couple things. First of all, I'm an owner of my own business. And as a businessman, the ultimate goal of a business is not to make money. The ultimate goal of a business is to provide a service. And it doesn't matter whether you're installing washing machines, dishwashers, washing cars, or whatever it is, you provide a service, and I've always sought to say, if I'm going to equip people how to recruit for volunteers for an organization, I need to give it everything I have, and it's not about the money. The second goal of a business is not about making money. It's about giving people jobs. Jobs are sacred. And one of the things that we want to do is to be able to provide people an opportunity to take home that check. One of the organizations I worked with, Pride Industries in Sacramento, employs 4,000 people with disabilities. And when you look at those people, and many Down syndrome and all kinds of disabilities, they have a job. And it's so exciting when they get those paychecks and they go home. And I kind of picked up that phrase from the leader of this organization, and he says, these jobs are sacred, and to give people the opportunity. As a businessman, I had employees, and it was exciting I could have done the whole thing myself and made more money, but that's not the goal. Now, you need to make money in a business. I love what Peter Drucker says, nonprofit is not a business goal, it's an IRS distinction, designation. And so you need to make money, but it's not your goal. It's to provide people jobs. And one quick story, we've organized our business on what I call the Joseph principle. When you have really great years, you don't spend it all. You save it, because tough times are coming. And I remember at the beginning of this millennium, in California, we moved through an incredible recession. And I lost probably 70% of my business because it was with the state of California, and they had not followed the Joseph's principle and spent all their money. And then they had no money, and when you were in training and development, that's something that can go. We kept our employees, and we were able to keep our employees for two reasons. Number one, we had saved during those great years, so I could go to the employees and say, we can still pay you. Secondly, Susie had a great job. She by then had gone to graduate school, was a university professor, so she had a great job. And I thought, the goal of this business is not to make money, but it's to provide a service and to employ people. So we kept our employees, and I took no salary for that time. And we were able to live and provide them. And of course, the bookkeeper knew that because she wrote out the checks. And that word kind of got around. And I said, we're able to do this because, that's part of our mission, is to provide those jobs for people. Now, those are just a couple little kind of things that we did that we could just really demonstrate, the Christian principles of running a business.
This is one of my good buddies. And Sharon and Susie are dear friends. You're going to hear from Tom in just a few minutes as he opens the scriptures. I hope you'll give him your full attention.
Thanks,
It is
Joe.
delightful to have you with us.